All right, we're going to discuss company health. And the first topic that I will talk about is board selection. As members know, every 2 years, 4 out of the 8 non-executive director positions expire, and we must appoint a board selection committee under the Constitution. This year, the chairman will be up for re-election. So whenever that happens, the deputy chair, which is Liz Alexander, will chair the board selection committee. A letter has been sent to the Commonwealth Government from PHA, letting them know that they need to approve 2 government members for the selection committee, so that can be included on the agenda for the next MBC meeting. There's also the 2 plant industry members and that need to be appointed, and we will be sending a letter out in the next few days requesting nominations for that. I've got here a list of the previous members of the board selection committee on the slide, and it has proven effective in the past for one of the plant industry members to sit on the selection committee for 2 consecutive processes, as you can see there when there's been repetitive names. The process will be discussed at the next plant industry forum in May, and shortly after that, hopefully, we will be able to appoint the committee. Next point is the year-to-date financial performance and forecast. And at present, we're forecasting a surplus of $32,400 for the year, compared to a budgeted deficit of $5,589. So that's a turnaround of $38,000. And that turnaround is due to additional income received from interest income and due to funding received in advance for non-subscription funded project work that really has exceeded expectations. So we've earned additional interest on that income. But just to put that into perspective, that improvement is only 0.39% of the total forecast income. But it's a nice turnaround to be in surplus rather than deficit. We have here a graph that shows a very strong upward trend in the total income, especially over the last 5 years. Government project funding has been particularly strong over the last 2 years and is expected to be equal to industry project funding for the current year. You can see those 2 lines that are joining. So that's a good indication of how we're progressing. And as a result of the close correlation we have between income and expenditure, the amount of company equity is reasonably constant, which is that green line. Obviously, there's been no nasty surprises anywhere there. Your board places significant emphasis on ensuring that the company maintains adequate reserves. Our reserves policy was developed with assistance from Ernst & Young a few years ago. The reserves relate to maintaining core activities at PHA, not non-subscription funded activities. I'm sure most organisations will have similar reserves policies. The minimum and maximum levels of reserves are calculated each year in accordance with the reserves policy. So they're the green for the maximum and the red for the minimum levels. And reserves are forecast to be within these levels at the end of this financial year, which is the blue line. I'd like to mention levy receipts, because the growth and use of the PHA levy is really highlighted on the slide, the most recent year being in red. And this is up to date to amounts of levies received yesterday. Many industries are using the PHA levy to pay their PHA annual subscriptions. And an increasing number of members are using the PHA levy to fund various biosecurity projects, and in some cases to fund emergency responses not covered by the deed. So the PHA levy is flexible, and I'd encourage any members who are thinking about amending or implementing levies to get in contact as soon as they can. As far as we're going overall this year, we're obviously that the red column shows that we're on track to receive at least as much in levies funding as we did last financial year. We also have the EPPR levy, and the EPPR levy is being utilised by a growing number of members to repay the Commonwealth for underwriting various emergency responses. This year, EPPR levies should collect as much as last year, or perhaps slightly down. Collections will in fact reduce next year as the banana industry will have repaid the Commonwealth for underwriting the banana freckle response in the Northern Territory. Here on the slide, we have a comparison of total levy receipts for levy recipient bodies that receive under $15 million. Again, PHA is in the red. These figures are from the Department of Agriculture and Water Resources. You can see that PHA has grown significantly over the last 4 years, but this year is forecast by the Levy Revenue Service to be slightly down on last year. Okay, there's no questions, so move on to the next topic, which is the draft subscriptions for next financial year. As you know, accepting the Commonwealth, your annual subscription is based on a 3-year average of LVP, which is local value of production, or farm gate value of production. To calculate this, we obtain the data firstly from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, if not available from them, ABS, and lastly, if neither ABS or ABS publish data, at the discretion of the PHA board, which is in the Constitution, and that discretion is usually based on estimates from members. At the most recent board meeting in February, it was decided that the minimum subscription and the associate membership fee will not change for 2019-20. It's important that PHA continues to deliver on member requirements from available resources. We're in the process of preparing budgets for 2019-20, and feedback from members is certainly encouraged. The draft 2019-20 membership subscriptions that follow have been prepared on the basis of a 2.5% increase in overall membership fees. The reason for movements in subscriptions is really threefold. There's the total amount of subscriptions to be agreed at the May General Meeting. There's movements in LVP of industries, and there's also changes in membership. The following slides show the draft membership subscriptions for 2019-20. There could be minor variations between now and finalisation. The first slide shows draft government subscriptions. The Commonwealth pays the same amount in total as state and territory governments. As with industry subscriptions, the amounts for states and territories are calculated from the 3-year average LVP. The next few slides show the plant industry draft membership subscriptions. As mentioned earlier, most members pay their annual subscriptions through the statutory levy system. Of the 39 plant industry members that we have, 11 members pay the minimum subscriptions from their own resources, but we have 22 members who use the PHA levy to pay their subscriptions, which is very significant. We're still finalising the LVP of a few industries, but as mentioned before, any changes to these figures will be minor. And no changes are expected in associate member subscriptions at this time. And I have a question. which is, like AHA, PHA should seek more member-funded projects beyond the member subs. NFFC is a good example. Maybe worthwhile looking at some national project that helps both government and industry members. Well, we do seek and receive significant amounts of funding from both government and industry that were shown on really the previous slide of total income. And we're always looking at both those parties to provide that income, and hopefully that will continue. Certainly government has been mentioned by a few people, in particular the Department of Agriculture and Water Resources has provided significant funding over the last few years, but industry funding hasn't gone down either at all. It's stayed well up there, and as more of our industries utilise the levy system so that they can fund projects, we see that certainly at least continuing or perhaps even improving over the next few years, especially the next 12 months.
Yeah, I might just add that if you look at some of the success that we've had through PBRI with the Rural R&D for Profit program and some other initiatives through there, I mean, if we can build the total level of investment that is applied to plant biosecurity, I think that's a really good thing. It doesn't always have to come through PHA, but if we can assist others in getting funding to do plant biosecurity related work, I think that's really quite positive. So all in all, we've got about $3.5 million from industry, principally through RDCs, and also $3.5 million, give or take, from government parties. And I think that's really quite a solid sort of background on which to work from. All parties are going to have some difficulties in funding over a period of time, and they might be a little cyclical, so we've just got to be conscious of that. But certainly we're looking to establish a multi-party and multi-year projects that work for PHA, but also for our members. So that hopefully will be an ongoing program for us.